Here's the weekly update for the Aero Garden and my hydroponics adventure. So here the black dragon on the left and the Thai dragon on the right. Black dragon is becoming a massive structure of leaves and stems, but still no actual budded blossoms yet. If you take a look at the Thai dragon, you can see that it has actually started to bloom. So let's get up really close to one of these flowers. They make these nice little delicate six-pointed flowers, and another one of my Thai blossoms or Thai dragons has also started to flower. So today I just want to talk a little bit about pollinating these guys. Peppers are self-pollinating, so you don't need to actually go from one flower to another in order to pollinate them. Usually just a little bit of irritation to dislodge the pollen from one flower should do the trick. So we're going to do that today using a very high-tech device that probably a lot of you guys already have at home. We're just going to use an electric toothbrush. The thing about electric toothbrushes is that since they are vibrating, this is actually very similar to the movement that occurs when bees or other insects are pollinating flowers. So the slight buzzing is usually all that's really necessary. And in fact, I just use the same electric toothbrush that I use to brush my teeth with. One modification that I usually do is I take the brush head off and I just use the little part that is keeping the brush on top. So it's a little bit more easy to maneuver around the plants, especially when you can see that a lot of these leaves are bunched so close together. So I'll cut over to that and then show you what that looks like. Okay, so my brush head has a couple of speeds. There is a high speed and a lower speed and an alternating speed. So I'm just going to go with the lower speed. And basically all I do is I take the brush and I kind of just touch it against the flower. And I don't actually make direct contact with the petals or the stamen of the flower itself. I'm just doing this to kind of move the pollen. So I'll do this to this guy. And the thing about the pepper plants is that they do blossom. The same plant will blossom at different times. So this is something that you kind of want to check on every day or so. Make sure that if there's any new blossoms that they all get the treatment. So I think that might be it on this one. So let's go ahead down below to the deep water. Alright, so down here in the deep water culture system, I have actually pruned back my basil twice in the last week for cooking and gave some away to a friend, and it's just still producing. Everything's looking good and healthy. My mystery hot pepper is making some really big leaves and starting to sprout a couple more since I topped this recently. So here's the Thai dragon. This is the original Thai dragon that I started last year. It also is starting to bloom a little bit, so go ahead and give it a little buzz. Okay, and if you look very closely, you should actually be able to see a little bit of pollen coming off of the flower. It might not be apparent in terms of pollen flying off of the flower, but you might also notice that the pollen falls off onto some of the dark surfaces of the leaves, and that's usually a pretty good indicator that it's making pollen. So let's see, I think there's one more right in here. Flowers don't need any light in order to produce or bloom, just the leaves for photosynthesis. So if you have flowers that are kind of hidden behind other leaves, that's okay. What is important is circulation. So the last thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to prune back a little bit of the foliage that has formed here. Getting rid of some of the larger leaves will help improve the air circulation around the plants so that it can properly take in carbon dioxide and use it for photosynthesis. One of the signs that kind of tells you that you don't have proper air circulation is you might see some droplets of water forming on the sides of your leaves or the underside of your leaves, usually indicating that the water hasn't had enough circulation to actually evaporate it away. So especially for this one of the other problems is that because this Vietnamese dragon is so tall and its leaves are so big, it is actually kind of shadowing the light from these other two Thai dragon plants. These are naturally smaller plants, but you can kind of tell that, especially over on this side, there isn't as much light available, so I'm going to try to prune back some of these leaves. And that's just a matter of cutting back the leaves right along the stem. You can use a pair of scissors, make sure that they're clean so that they don't spread any types of diseases or infections, or you can use a safety razor blade. So I'll just be using the safety razor blade, which I would show you guys how I do that, but I unfortunately don't have a tripod quite yet. So I'm going to do that and then show you what this looks like after I am done. Alright, so I just finished pruning back a couple of the leaves, and right here is a little pile of leaves that I took off from both plants. This is the type of razor that I've been using. These are called safety razors. They are wicked sharp, so be careful. Take care if you're using one of these. The sharp edges are on the long sides, so you can grasp right in the middle and it'll be pretty safe to hold it from there. So I always make sure that I rewrap this afterwards when I'm done. So right here is an area that I just cut, so you can kind of see where the leaf used to be, and by using the safety razor I'm getting that nice clean cut. Removing a couple of the leaves I feel is kind of like getting a haircut. You kind of trim off some of the older parts and encourage new leaves to grow and to redirect a lot of the energy towards making flowers and blooming those flowers. So hopefully that's enough light for these guys. I'll check back in with you guys next week and see how these guys are doing. So yeah, probably around next week is when I'm going to be doing a nutrient change for deep water culture, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys have a great week. Take care.